Hello, this is the Challenge 9 video of the 2022 Holiday Hack Challenge. And this is a challenge that is titled as Open Boria Mine Door. This is a bit tougher and it's kind of weird. So let me show you how that works. First of all, we need to get our next challenge from Albester. I'm going to talk to the elf, and while I was prepping for this video, I noticed some weirdness that I found in another place, which is going to be the location of the next challenge. There's a little glitch here. I'm not sure if this is even an Easter egg or intended. You can look up the map of the area that you're currently located. If you don't know how to get the map, check out the first video of the series. But it's weird. I don't know why this is here. It doesn't lead anywhere, or at least I couldn't figure it out, but it's kind of fun. Anyways, let's talk to the little elf here. And Albester gives us 3 hints for next challenge. It's probably worth listening to. So the next challenge will require us to unlock the door of the Boria mine. And we have 3 hints for Boria mine. Let me try to find them. Yeah, so it starts probably here under input validation. I believe that was the first one. Doesn't really matter. So they tell you that developers might do client or server-side input validation. This will be important for the later locks. Content security policy, and there's a reference to the OWASP cheat sheet series. You can check out this one and read it. Same goes for the input validation part. Oh, there was also a reference here. And last but not least, the lock mechanism is explained here. It's, like I said, kind of weird because you need to provide an input, and that's going to render the input as an image. And you need to fill in the blank part between 2. It kind of feels like pipes, and you need to build a pipe in order to have the little pixels flow through it. It will be clear when we're going to attempt to implement the first bypass on the locks, or the input that unlocks the lock mechanism. We also have here Hal, who is not going to give us any hints, but just asking for our help. And as you can see, I'm not able to get through the door. At least I couldn't figure out a way to bypass this and get to the next challenge. So we're going to look at the Boria mine door here. And the lock mechanism is also explained here. So you have these color sensors, and if you enter the appropriate characters, then these are the little pixels that will start flowing through it. And we have 6 locks. Now, in order to complete the challenge, you only need to solve 3 of the locks. And the first 3 is rather simple. But you do want to unlock all 6, because the next challenge is a really tough one, and you're not going to get the hint for that unless you unlock all of the locks. So, that being said, I do have this challenge running within a browser that is tied to Burp Suite, just to show you the various pin mechanisms here, because you see here that we have pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 being requested, and this allows us to figure out the filter that they have. Also for pin 1, it's relatively easy because one of the hints actually mentioned this, that you should look at the source code. So we see here that there is pretty much no restriction here on what we can input. There's no content security policy in place as opposed to later locks. Like lock 2 does have one, lock 3 has one with a little hint here. So this one only has these weird set of characters. And the first lock is pretty easy. You can come up with any combination that you'd like. So really, you can go and just try to come up with a set of characters that makes it to the other side. For example, the characters that they had in the source code. So that does work sometimes, and you might see previously used code that they uncommented that can give you a sort of understanding on how the backend works or how the logic of the application works. So this will get the green pixels flow from one place to another. For the second one, it's a little bit trickier. And by the way, this challenge does not really require you to look at the traffic, but it makes it significantly easier. So here, the content security policy, without diving into too much details about content security policy, will allow us to use HTML code. So if you do an input, you do see that it's not in the right position, so you can try something like do a break line like this, and yeah, the positioning is still not great. Now, one of the hints do mention it, that you want to come up with something that will be rendered, and in this case the easiest way to go is probably to come up with a sort of way to fill this blank space here. And from this point on, I think the easiest way to unlock these sub challenges or locks is to use SVG code that renders very, very simple shapes. So for the first one, you could actually, instead of these set of characters, use HTML code. Let me just show you that one real quick. This one shows that HTML is going to be rendered here. Yeah, probably just a set of E's will be enough to unlock it. But we can also use, I have a notepad here to show you. We can also use something like this. And I think I used the let me see if I save this URL. I think I haven't. Oh no, there it is. So I think the best way to kind of figure this one out is to use the WFE3 school information about, sure, accept all the cookies, about the SVG tag. And they also have an online editor, so you can try it out yourself. And this will render the shape that you want to use. So this code here, you can also try it out. Just get rid of all of this. And this, yeah, it's not going to be very visible because it's going to be a completely white square. Because I'm just going to fill up the whole space here. So this tag is going to create a canvas of 200 by 200 pixels, and then it's going to create this a square of 200 by 200, and the fill color is just white with defining RGB colors. I'm using RGB for the colors because later on we have to actually define a color for our little rectangles or whatever shapes do we want to have. As you can see, this one unlocks the second lock here, and you can, by the way, use the same thing for the first lock as well. Now for the second one, there are multiple obstacles. You might think, oh, okay, this is easy. I'm just going to, you know, instead of this shape here, I'm just going to use a blue square. We are going to use a blue square, but it does not render. So at this point, you really need to take a look inside. and I need to find the pins. And just close all of these because I think in the background they generate a lot of traffic. And I'm probably going to define the scope here. Okay. So pin 3 is, if you look at the content security policy, will only allow unsafe inline. And there's also some references here to image source. And what you can do, now this required me to do a little bit of Googling because I was not really familiar with using SVG tags. That's not something that you do even during penetration tests. I found this post here under csstricks.com, which seems to be a really cool site, that you can use the image tags to render an inline SVG. So that's going to be the way to bypass the restrictions over here. And the payload that I came up with, instead of this one, we're still keeping the same SVG here for the rectangle, but it's going to be an inline SVG tag within an image tag. This should unlock the third lock. And if solves are a challenge, and you might feel tempted like, okay, this is awesome, I kind of understand how you can bypass filtering, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't need the reminder of the locks here to move on to the next challenge. I mean, the door is open and I got my achievement, so what's with those last 3 ones? We even have the Boria rather, mine door unlocked. And the problem is that for the next challenge from Hal, you get the next objective, and you also have one hint, but he tells you that you need to finish all the locks to get the second hint. And the next challenge without all the hints that you can get is pretty much unsolvable. So we're gonna get back here and unlock these last 3 locks here. So just as a quick recap, we used a white square here, a white square here, and then a blue square, but as an inline image tag here. That is the current state that we had. And then for pin 4, let's see if I can just navigate like this. So pin 4 here has some input sanitization in place. But this, to be honest, does not really bother us at all as long as we are keeping everything in order. So for the 4th one, you can do multiple things. The sanitization in this case is not going to be a problem. Yeah, they don't have content security policy in place, so I think it's already enforcing this. And what I came up with is kind of an ugly solution for the 4th one. I just separate it like this. So what you need to keep in mind here is that so far we've been only rendering one object here. Now we have 3 different locks here with 3 different colors. I mean, I could have used a polygon here, but I just used 3 rectangles, so 3 image tags, one after the other. So basically I just duplicated this code here and adjusted the height of the position of the squares, or in this case rectangles. And I'm just rendering a green, a red, and a blue rectangle. It's barely matching the the positions, but if it works, you know, it ain't stupid. So we have the 4th lock here. For the 5th and the 6th one, we need to be a bit more clever because we cannot just use a tag that will be well adjusted for the purpose. Because in this case, I'm going to use a polygon here. And I need to use a polygon because with squares, I won't be able to connect these two types, or sensors as they call them. I need to kind of separate it like this. I was experimenting a lot with the W3 school website until I came up with something that kind of works. The problem here though is if I paste it here, it will render the code itself instead of the nice rectangles, or in this case polygons, that I wanted to render here. And the reason for that is there is content security policy in place, and the field has the input sanitization now being called here, and this will replace these characters. So quote, single and double quote, and then the angle brackets. Not great, not great. Well, I'm already using an intercepting proxy, so for those of you who ever done web application penetration testing, you probably guessed that my next step is going to be to drop this here. There's WebSocket messages in the background. Now this is, I think, yeah, not the best way of doing it, so let me just let this one go. And you have to be careful which input method you're using. The Go button will do sanitization already on the input. The hitting enter method will have all the tags here. However, you still need to be careful because when this response gets returned, the sanitization will be still executed. So you can break this by doing something like this. So this is the on blur effect. So when it actually gets rendered, before it gets rendered, the input sanitization method here will be invoked. But by breaking the JavaScript code, we're going to be able to render this. Now, you do not need an intercepting proxy to do this kind of exercise. And for the sixth one, I will show you, or at least I will attempt to show you. It worked in Firefox. This is Chromium, but this is how you can do that. For example, for this input field. So you can see that the input field for 6 also has the sanitization part. And if we check in 6, we autocomplete off. This is not. Yeah, that's it's kind of weird. Okay, I think it's using the same method here, so the same JavaScript, and you need to kind of break that one as well. You can do it with developer tools like this and edit it inline. Now for the challenge 6, I also again just took the lazy route. I'm going to draw 2 rectangles, one on top of the other, because we need to connect this one and this one here. It's just yeah, so it didn't work apparently, but this is yeah, because this is not changing it inline. I think it works with Firefox, not necessarily with Chromium. No, it worked with Chromium. I think I clicked on Go again, which will get rid of the angle brackets. Anyways, so by breaking the client-side validation, you're going to be able to break the filter on these 2 last ones. The 4th one is really just a matter of properly rendering those SVGs. Let's get the hint. That's the reason why I've been working for it. And by the way, this is a separate achievement here. So you have Boria Mine Door and Boria Mine Door bonus. But like I said, I think it's absolutely mandatory to get the last hint here, because this will tell you that you need to use XML entities in the next challenge. But for this challenge, that is all. Now, this challenge for me was a little bit strange because of the SVG tags, but I learned something new, and that's always a good thing. And of course, the security levels for this challenge is bypassing the input validation. And most cases, when you're dealing with these kind of security issues, and this is kind of tied to cross-site scripting related issues, input validation is a nice thing to have, and you should validate the input, but output encoding, context dependent output encoding, is the really important part. Right, that's it for this challenge. We have one last challenge for the web ring, and that is a really tough one. So come join me in the next video and see all the steps to solve that last challenge to get the web ring.